let's bring in CBS News correspondent Jolene Kent. Jolene, good to see you today. There's a big question of what impact this ruling will have on the economy.
Yeah, well, the average American household was losing their about $1,700 in real income due to these tariffs. So as we look at the major economic impact, this was an economic blow to the president's agenda without question. And we're hearing from small businesses all around the country who have really suffered from these tariffs, who have felt that they've had to raise their prices on their consumers over the last year to absorb some of that incoming cost. And just reading some of these texts here that we're getting incoming from small businesses. Beth Beneke, the CEO of Busy Baby Map in Zimbrata, Minnesota, down in southern Minnesota, she tells me this is a major relief. This is bittersweet. Now her job, she says, is to figure out how small businesses like hers can get refunded, as Jan Crawford was talking about just now. Emily Lay, CEO of Simplified, it's a really popular stationery and planner business. She's down in Sarasota, Florida. She told me this morning she's thrilled, in all caps, that she's relieved. And you know, she's been going for about 20 years. She says she's never had a challenge like this before. In a separate lawsuit, she sued the Trump administration on similar grounds to what we saw today out of the Supreme Court. And she is now also going to be seeking refunds and trying to regroup and figure this out. And for so many small businesses, this is really...
So for those of y'all don't know so far, the Supreme Court, they pretty much told Trump that he was overstepping in regards to the tariffs. But that still doesn't mean anything, because all Trump did, he just introduced a new 10% global tariff for, I think, try to extend it for 150 days, something like that. So at the end of the day, he's still gonna put them tariffs out on you. You still gonna have to pay tariffs, big dog.
Been about whether or not they can grow, whether or not they have to lay off workers, and also, of course, prices. So when it comes to prices that you're paying, for example, at the grocery store, we do expect to see prices drop more immediately on like fresh fruits and veggies, but other things like apparel and other types of imports, those decreases may take a little bit more time to go.
And Jolene, we know that the Supreme Court didn't really mention much about
she be getting it in the gym,
refunds, but I'm sure that's what those business owners are looking for, right?
Right.
Yeah, that
doesn't even make sense.
For.
Bro, like that profile picture, bro.
Takes time, and just as tariffs took a long time to actually, have a major economic impact, we're now seeing the reverse of that. We're just in stage one, just an hour or two into this. But what the small businesses are telling me is that they feel like they have some clarity here. And what's also interesting too is what the Small Business Coalition is saying here. They said, they have paid the tariffs and they deserve their money back. And this coalition is saying American small businesses, not foreign governments, paid billions of dollars in IEEPA tariffs. They have dipped into their personal savings, taken out high interest loans, laid off employees, and cut wages to cover costs. That is really borne out in the reporting that we've done over the past year. And so the Small Business Coalition, they want everything.
Okay, maybe I'm the one that's tripping, right? Because when I think of putting tariffs on imported goods, right? But I think you putting tariffs on imported goods, my thought process of it coming from a business perspective is that it's supposed to help smaller businesses, right? So that they are able to thrive in America. So instead of you going across seas to get your products and get your shit made and shipped and all that, why not get it done here in America, which then creates more jobs too and opportunities for people to become entrepreneurs, create more smaller businesses, and that way the money can circulate within the United States of America. Why not? And if you decide, now of course, if you decide that you want to still use the products that's being used outside of the country, then I mean, yes, rightfully so, you're gonna have to up your prices in order to create a margin for yourself, and so that way you can profit in the business. But it would make sense, to get all of your shit here in America so it can be America made, right? It's just like being in the Black community. In order for the Black community to thrive and grow and build, the money has to circulate within the community. Not being consumers outside of the community and not giving money to the people outside of the community. Am I tripping? Am I wrong? Am I off on that?
Every single dollar returned.
And Jolene, I'm not sure this is a question we have an answer to because this ruling just came down today. But for those watching thinking, well, prices went up because of tariffs, what does that mean for me? Do we have an answer to that?
I think it's going to be very gradual. You may see more impact on grocery items like fresh fruits and vegetables, but then when it comes to electronics, apparel, other types of goods that have a longer lead time when it comes to manufacturing, that will be slower. But remember, we're also dealing with decisions from major companies who are also parsing through this decision and trying to figure out what it means for them. And I'm talking about Target, Walmart, Amazon, all of your big box stores. Those companies are going to look very closely at what this means. And remember, back in the pandemic, when we saw so much inflation between 2020 and 2025, companies did not necessarily cut their prices when, say, the supply chain issues were more resolved. So the big question I have here is, what will happen to prices? Will they actually go down, or will companies elect to potentially leave them where they are? We'll have to wait and see, and we'll be watching all of those quarterly earnings reports.
I'll be honest, I don't think much is going to happen in regards to the pricing. It might go down a little bit, but over a broader scale, that can be a lot. Even if it go down just a little bit. Mind you, for those people who don't know, bro, do y'all know interest rates were, do y'all understand, bro? We were at a 9%. We were at 9%, bro. Inflation rate. 9%. We got that bitch all the way down to 3%. Shout out to Trump. All the way down to 3%. And it's pushing 2. But we ain't quite there yet. But we're pushing 2.
As those CEOs speak out on this issue.
Oh yeah, we know you will. Jolene Kent, thank you so much for your time today.
All right, so let's go over to CNN. Let's go over to CNN and see what they talk about.
This is one of the most significant cases that the justices have decided in recent years. Here, the Supreme Court ruling that President Trump's use of these emergency tariffs that he has implemented are illegal. It's the most significant economic case to reach the high court in years, sweeping implications for the economy and, of course, for presidential power. And at stake here are billions of dollars in revenue that have already been collected by the government. Pamela Wolf, the other significance here is that this is the first time that the 6-3 conservative court has ruled against President Trump in one of these major cases that have gone before the court since he returned to power in January. Now, we are still going through this case, but this is something we have been waiting for. The court said that it would take up this case on an expedited basis. So they're deciding, even though it's a significant case now, because of course this has enormous implications. So as we go through this opinion now with our team, another outstanding question is what now happens to all that revenue that had been collected? This is something it really wasn't clear from the arguments what they would say about that, if they're going to lay out a plan. So we will continue to go through this, but this is an enormous decision and a rare loss for President Trump before this conservative court.
This is Paula.
How is it a loss? He's still gonna impose tariffs. It just ain't gonna be as much. He's still posing a 10% tariff on their ass. So what you talking about? You still gotta ante up.
Major slap at the president of the United States, who has made a major effort over these many, many months to impose all of these tariffs. And just to look at some of the background I have here, over these many months, the administration has collected $150 billion in these tariffs. So what happens to that money? Do they have to refund that money to the firms, to the people who paid for those tariffs?
That's one of the big questions that came up at arguments, and it's something that we're looking through now in this opinion. The top line is that these are illegal, that the president cannot rely on this 1977 emergency law to impose tariffs without authorization from Congress, because this question is really about the extent of presidential power. And we know in both his terms in office, President Trump has really worked at the edges of what has largely been recognized as executive authority. But in these arguments back in November, they went on for 2.5 hours. It was clear that the justices were skeptical that President Trump could rely on this vague federal law to impose global tariffs. Now, they did appear to likely be willing to.
How are we, Tracy Chandler? How are we paying for it? How are we paying for it?
decide that these were illegal, but what is not clear, and we haven't gotten to this part of the opinion, is what happens to all that revenue that has been collected by the government. And President Trump has said himself that this is, this is a massive decision for him. So we're waiting for reaction, both from the Justice Department that argued this on his behalf and also from the White House. But we're going to keep going through this, Wolf, to try to see if the justices laid out any plan for what happens to that revenue. All
right, Paula, stand by. I know you're going to be reading all these the opinions and everything. I want to get back to you, but I want to bring in our senior legal analyst, Ellie Honig, right now. Ellie, as I said, this is a huge setback for the president of the United States. And this has been a traditionally conservative Supreme Court, but they ruled that all of these tariffs that Trump has imposed over these many months are illegal. It's a big deal.
Well, Wolf, it's a monumental ruling. And the bottom line is that the tariffs Donald Trump announced back in April on Liberation Day are gone. They have been ruled illegal by this U.S. Supreme Court. An interesting array of justices here. In the majority, ruling that the tariffs are illegal is Chief Justice Roberts, Justice Gorsuch, and Justice Amy Coney Barrett.
You see what I'm you see what I'm saying, Matt? You see exactly what I'm saying. Made over 150 billion, but that's a bad thing. Since he imposed the tariffs. Come on, man. Come on, man.
Conservatives who teamed up with the three liberal justices, Sotomayor, Kagan, and Jackson, to rule these tariffs unconstitutional. The dissenters are Justices Thomas, Alito, and Kavanaugh. And the basis for the ruling is this. Congress, not the president, Congress typically holds the tariff power. Now, Congress passed this law back in 1977 called the International Economic Emergencies Act. And Donald Trump tried to use that law to say, well, I'm declaring an international economic emergency, therefore I'm imposing tariffs. But
if you want me to answer a question for you, Chuko, you got to put a super chat in that, big dog. That's the only way I'm gonna answer that question, homie. And I'm not trying to be rude, I'm not trying to be mean, but that's how we rocking now, bro. I used to just bring up the chat on top of the screen and answer the question, but you know what I'm saying, we got to move a little bit different now. All right, so
majority here said, no, that law does not authorize you to impose tariffs, and no, there is not a valid international economic emergency here. So the end result, and we are still going through this, but the end result is that Donald Trump's tariffs have been struck down by the U.S. Supreme Court. But really important point I want to make, Donald Trump has said, various White House officials have said, if he loses on this basis, he will try to re-implement other tariffs through other laws, which he can try to do. However, those other laws are much more restrictive. They would not allow him to apply the type of sweeping, massive, across the globe tariff.
Well, yeah, you got to be careful. Who were you watching? Were you watching CNN? Depends on who you were watching. Because CNN, they're really good at trying to twist the story to really make things look bad. So they like to skip over a lot of things that are key. They like to skip over context. They really do, because they really have an angle when it comes to President Trump. So you got to be careful with that.
Tariffs that he tried to impose here, but have now been struck down. Look, Donald Trump said these tariffs are the single most important thing he has done in his presidency. He said that, and now they've been struck down by the court.
So you're right. The administration has made clear that if the court strikes,
if you want me to answer that question, Jim, put a super chat in there, and I'll answer it for you. And I will give you a straightforward answer if you really want to know the answer.
It's down that they'll look at other tariff authorities to use. But bottom line here,
it's only a tax on the American people if you decide to purchase products outside of the United States. That's when it becomes a tax on you. So for those of you who like to shop in Shein, because it's overseas, you're going to get taxed on it. But if you're buying products here in America, you're not going to get taxed on it. That's what tariffs are. What are you talking about? Okay, Jim, well, you can get the fuck on. Like, you know what I don't understand, bro? Here's my thing with a lot of these. And it's always the people who never should have their face on a profile picture that always want to say some stupid shit. And mind you, say what you want to say. You know what I'm saying? You can disagree with me. That's fine. I don't care. But I want you to be clear. If you're going to say something crazy to me, or you decide that I'm going to not recommend this channel, nigga, you think I give a fuck? I don't. Nah, your mama might be retarded, though. Oh, hey, listen, we on one today, so come on. Oh wait, he's black. Oh, wait, he black. Boy, shut up. But anyway, let's see. Octa, American business are taxed, then they pass that cost to the people. You think so? So how are we taxed? How are we taxed? If you're putting a 10% tariff on like Japan, how are we taxed off of that? Unless we decide to purchase something that's out of Japan. How are we taxed on that? Since the tariffs have been implemented, you do know that we've made way more money in America, right? You do know that, right? Jason, that's a fact. Who increases? It hurts you talking about smaller businesses? No. Because then what that would do, that will force you to start creating your own products within the United States of America, correct? Which then will advise you to do what? Purchase from the people in the United States of America, which then over time will drive down the prices. Because you don't have to go overseas in order to get the products that you need, because we make them right here in the US. Which then everybody's going to thrive because the money continues to circulate within the United States of America. What are you talking about?
Ellie, how big of a mess does this ruling create, given the fact that the administration says it has already received $150 billion in revenue, largely paid for by American businesses? Do they get a refund? What happens now?
Yeah, so it's hard to think of a case that has broader implications politically and legally and economically than this one. I know a lot of people are watching for this one. We don't yet have the answer. This was a question that came up during the oral argument. Amy Coney Barrett in particular asked the lawyers, well, what do we do with the $100+ billion that have already been paid by American importers, by American manufacturers? We're going to look carefully at this. I know Paul is reading this very carefully, but that's a huge question. Will there be some sort of mass refund program? Will the court rule that the tariffs are dead from here on out, but there are no repayments? We will let you know as soon as we get an answer to that one.
All right, as you noted, Paula has been reading through the opinion. I want to go back to Paula Reed, because we know that 3 conservatives sided with the liberals on the court, and you have a quote from one of those conservatives, right, Paula?
That's right. Well, this is Chief Justice John Roberts, who wrote the majority opinion where the court agreed 6-3 that President Trump's tariffs exceed his power under the law. He wrote, quote, "The president asserts the extraordinary power to unilaterally impose tariffs of unlimited amount, duration, and scope. In light of the history and constitutional context of that asserted authority, he must identify clear congressional authorization to exercise it." And we knew that the Chief Justice would be a key vote after what we saw at arguments. Now, we are still going through this. I want to show you, this is
so for everybody who's calling Trump a con man, right? Let me ask y'all a question. Do you think Biden is a con man? Do you think Biden was for America? When the inflation rate was at a whopping 9%, when Trump has driven it back down to 3%, which we're pushing towards 2%. Last time I checked, that's being for the American people. When you want America to be great again, because you want to bring that powerhouse back to America. Which is why the building of the manufacturing companies out there in Mexico, that's why they cut that shit off. That's why they stopped. That's why they aren't building the Dodge out there in Mexico. Which was it? Korea? Was it Korea? Was it Korea? Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Was it Korea or Japan? Was someone who they're building a new manufacturing company for? Is it Kia or Toyota? I think it's Kia. It's one of them.
About a third of the opinion. It's 170 pages long. This is just a fraction of it. Wow. So we're going through it very carefully.
It was at a 9%.
To try to understand what, if anything, the court said about what happens to all that revenue the government has already collected. I know that's a big question right now. We are carefully going through this to see if they laid out a plan, if this goes back to the lower courts. That's what we're working to figure out right now.
And a quick question from me, Paula. Do the tariffs immediately go away?
Ain't no shame on me.
or does it take a few days or
I
at
know
least
exactly
maybe a
why
few
I voted
weeks
for him.
for them to be removed?
Well, they've been declared by the Supreme Court to be illegal. So we're going through to see if they laid out some sort of plan. But as of right now,
They said one news channel said we made 150 billion. CNN is saying American companies paid 150 billion purposely putting misinformation. Exactly. But hey, we're gonna let them rock out.
people should not have to pay a tariff today or tomorrow, one would think. But we're looking to see, because the logistics of this are so complicated, to see if the justices waded into that, or.
So let me ask you a question. Is Trump tanking the American out? Is he tanking it? I just want your fair answer. Just yes or no. Is he tanking it now? I'm just curious. I just want to know.
All of that is going to be something that's now going to be tossed down to lower courts now that the justices have ruled on the larger constitutional question here, the separation sort of powers and who has the authority to do this. Right? Because while this has enormous economic implications, really this was a question.
Yeah, your mama got her GED last week too.
About the extent of executive power.
All right, so let's go over here and see what Trump is talking about. Oh, listen, I want y'all to understand something. With y'all, we gonna talk shit though. We can disagree all day. Really don't care, but we gonna talk shit today. Today's the boy's birthday, so I'm talking all kind of shit today. It don't matter if you agree with me, you disagree with me. All right, cool. Believe what you want to believe, think what you want to think. You can have the Trump derangement syndrome if you want to. They ain't got nothing to do with me. That's between you and God and everybody else who else didn't vote for him, right? They ain't got nothing to do with me. All right, so cool. Let's get to it.
This is a big one, folks. The Supreme Court of the United States just struck down a major chunk of President Donald Trump's tariffs in a 6-3 decision that could reshape trade policy and potentially trigger billions of dollars in refunds. Welcome to the Big Money Show, everyone. I'm Jackie DeAngelis, along with my co-hosts David Asman, Marcus Lemonis, Brian Brenberg, and with us for the hour, Calpom.
He said monkey. So look, which one are you? Let me see. You kind of look like you a T girl. You got your T girl with you, huh? You got your T girl with you, huh, Purdy? You got your T girl on your profile picture with you, big dog, huh? On spiky hair. When the last time niggas wore V-necks? That's what I'm trying to understand. Y'all, people still wear V-necks? When we started doing that? And then he said a monkey. He said a monkey. Look at this milkman here. Look at this milkman here. That's all you got, monkey. That's all you got, monkey. That's the best you got. Shows that just kind of lets me know how ignorant you actually are. Because see, you can't even have a disagreement without throwing an attack, huh? Damn, your mama raised it. I don't know if you the man or you the woman. It don't matter because both of y'all look like y'all ain't what y'all supposed to be. But hey, it is what
Management
it is.
President Gary Kaltbaum. Great to see you all. The ruling is that the president's use
Oh
of the
no, Courtney, I'm sorry, that was my assistant. What assistant? Nigga, you ain't got no assistant. To my chat GPT.
1977 International Emergency Economic Powers Act, that's known as IEPA, which he used to impose
Don't worry about it. Your mama like it though. Gorilla.
Was not lawful.
Purdy.
Now, here's where
Your
it gets a
mama
little
like it.
interesting. The ruling wipes out tariffs imposed under IEPA, including those reciprocal tariffs on broad swaths of trading partners. The big question is, what is next? What will the administration do? How do you pay that money back if you have to? The court really didn't go there. Lydia Hu's been pouring through all this ruling this morning, and she's here to break it down for us. Hi, Lydia.
Yeah, hey, great to be with you, Jackie. I have been taking a look at this ruling, and you're right. And that the Supreme Court, although they strike down the wide sweeping use of the IEPA tariffs, they don't squarely address exactly what comes next. But based on precedent and how this usually flows through the procedure of our federal courts, this case would now be handed back down to the lower courts. In this case, it would be the Court of International Trade. And it's up to them to determine whether and how monies that have been paid pursuant to the IEPA statute would be returned to companies. And as of right now, there are upwards of 1,000 companies or more that have already proactively, preemptively filed their claims to that court saying, hey, I want to be first in line to get my money back if the Supreme Court were to rule this way, as they have, striking down this tariffs. Costco is one example. Bumblebee Tuna is another example. There has been a recent case that flowed through the Court of International Trade in which a similar situation presented itself. The Supreme Court struck down a different type of tax. It was a maritime tax, and it handed the case.
See, there you go, Nut. No, because I'm not. I'm gonna tell you why. Because wasn't Biden a gorilla on there too? Oh, okay. So you just want to talk about that piece. Oh, so you just like everybody else, huh? Not saying I agree or disagree, but I'm saying you just like everybody else, huh? You want to talk about just because you see the two black people that were gorillas, which was Barack and Michelle, right? But then they also got Biden in there too, just like that. But hey, I digress. Which by the way, Biden is the most racist motherfucker that you could ever see. But hey, y'all don't want to have that conversation though. But y'all got Trump derangement syndrome. It's cool, bro. Like, hey, do your thing, bro. Do your thing. Do your thing. I know Purdy like to get banged from the back. That's why he talking the way he talking. He can't even give nothing measurable. He just talking just to be talking. He like to get banged from the back. He a cuck. That's exactly what he is. He a cuck, bro. He like his girl pounding. He like his girl bending him over and pounding him from behind. That's why he talk like that. That's why he talk like that. I don't trust no motherfucker who got spiked hair in the front like this. I don't trust it. I don't trust it at all.
Back down to the Court of International Trade, and they set up a process by which it established a refund for claimants, similar to this to what's happening here. And in that case, they oversaw the refund of roughly $700 million. But I can tell you, Jackie, it took them roughly 2 years to oversee the refund of all that money. And what we're talking about in this IEPA situation,
I told you, Octa, I'm on one today. Today the birthday. I'm on one today.
Would be roughly $170 billion. Some estimates I have seen even more. So it remains to be seen what the process would be like to oversee the return of billions of dollars to 1,000 claimants or more. A much different situation, but that is
hey, listen, y'all. I'm a pause it again. He said you can cook. I would bring it up, but he ain't put no super chat in there, so I'll keep him in the comments. He said you can cook all day for a white man. It ain't gonna work. You always gonna be that token black. That's your problem, That's your problem, Mr. Bend It Over. That's your problem. You think somebody cooking for a white man. The thing is, I got a mind for my own. I don't need you or anybody else telling me how I should vote and who I should vote for. That's the problem, big dog. That's the problem. But see, you too busy getting bent over and your girl tell you what to do, huh? Your girl run the household. She wear the pants in your relationship. You ain't got no say so. That's why you talking like a little woman right now. But hey, let's get back to the video though.
Open question at this moment.
Okay, we will get to the open question with the panel, but Lydia, while I have you, I just want to drill down on the ruling itself because I found this interesting that the Supreme Court did say the way the president enacted the IEPA tariffs was to them a tax and therefore not, able to be upheld. But they didn't say that he couldn't do, they said he couldn't do these broad sweeping tariffs, but you could use IEPA if you were more granular in your approach. You could use other statutes that are out there as well that the president used in his first term to impose tariffs, but that you had to be laser focused. You had to say which country it was, why it was an emergency with that particular country, and why you were going after them, rather than sort of this sweeping range of tariffs. And I thought that was important, that distinction, because it gives him.
Your mama still gonna be in my lap, nigga. Now what? Your mama still gonna be in my lap. That's why. She's still gonna be in my lap.
Power to move forward, and the other countries are going to realize it might take some time, but he can still do this.
That is correct. The question that was before the court is whether President Trump can use IEPA to impose tariffs. And it really came down to the interpretation of two words that are included in the IEEPA statute, because it does not expressly say you can impose tariffs. It says it includes the power to regulate importation. So the question was, does regulate importation include the power to impose tariffs? And the Supreme Court says no. But that doesn't mean that President Trump cannot still continue to use tariffs as part of his kind of approach to governing. And in fact, the administration has been very clear. They are ready and they have a plan B. Kevin Hassett was just on this morning talking about that plan B. They're going to rely on other statutory provisions. Section 301 is one that they've spoken about quite a bit. Those other provisions, they're not quite as flexible as IEEPA. They do have some limitations, but I would say we should all be ready and prepared to hear about the plan B that is forthcoming from the Trump administration.
I think you're right, Lydia Hu. Thank you so much. So let's all dig into this here. David, I'll start with you. It was a 6-3 decision. The dissenters were Alito, Thomas, and Kavanaugh. Not particularly surprising there, but I will say this. I'm not a person that will all of a sudden, start criticizing the Supreme Court because I didn't get my way on a particular decision. What they did was go specifically by the statute, and that's what I expected them to do. So I'm not shocked by this ruling per se, but I'm not really sure that in the scheme of things it matters. The market is not falling out of bed over this. I do think it's a very tricky, confusing issue about how you return these funds, if they're returned at all. They were not specific on that. But the president accomplished what he wanted with the tariffs. The sweeping tariffs that he put out brought everyone to the table. They negotiated. Yep. He got some of those non-tariff.
So let me ask y'all, chat, let me ask y'all a question. How do y'all feel about buying locally, which means here in the United States, versus buying products outside of the United States? How do y'all feel about that? Do you typically buy here in America, or do you buy a lot of your shit from overseas? Out of your own pockets. We're not talking about taxes. We're not talking about buying cars. We're just talking about you see some shit on the internet. You say, you know what? Oh man, that shit's over there in Japan. I want that, so I'm gonna order it. What do y'all prefer? Do y'all prefer to buy here in the US, or do you prefer to buy overseas? Jeffrey says America.
Barriers to be removed from these countries. And so now
Jason says, I'm willing to pay more to buy American. I feel that.
Now they also realize he's got another avenue to go down if he wants to play hardball. I think that, to me, this is almost a non-issue, aside from the importance of the Supreme Court setting precedent on how you can use.
I know you're a lawyer, but that is the smartest legal political explanation for what has just happened that I've heard so far today. And what the president wanted to do was to change a trading structure that was essentially developed after World War II to help the.
Says Mark Block says we used to buy goods in America until early 1990s, then everything went downhill. Buy American.
World recover from a world war. There hadn't been a fundamental change of that policy where we were working so hard to help primarily Europe, but also we did it with Japan and other countries around the world. And so many of those policies, which may have been very important in the 40s and the 50s and even up to the 60s, had become archaic. They become an old rear view mirror from what did happen, from the way the world used to work, not the way the world is working now. Trump wanted to change that. He did. For all of the bombast from the Trump administration about how they were expecting to win this, I know that there are people in the administration.
Nigga, who gives a fuck about Nick Fuentes? Who gives a fuck about him? Who gives a fuck about Nick Fuentes? Who? Prudy, do you believe Joe showered with his daughter? You approve of this? Listen, we understand the position that Purdy stands on. He stands in the bent over position, bro. Y'all just let him or her, I don't know what he is. Y'all just let him continue to talk in the chat. Just let him do it. I'm telling you, he trolling y'all. That's why I started ignoring him. or her, whatever the fuck he is. Can't trust nobody who wear V-necks anymore. But let's keep it going.
Who felt that they were not going to win this. So they have all kinds of plans already in place. The problem is those plans are going to take a while to put into place. It's going to take a long time for them to come up with the studies for whether they use 338, 301, all of the number tariff
I've heard at
rules.
least a year.
Yeah, it's going to take at least a year to get this. So it's going to be frustrating for the administration. It likes to get things done immediately, but I think we'll get over it. And as you say, the market is digesting it all pretty well.
I just want to highlight that the president is going to be giving some remarks at 12:45, so we will take him live to hear what his reaction is to this. But Marcus, I heard you talking earlier on the news channel about this specific issue, and I wanted to dive into this. What comes next? They were not specific about returning the money. So what does come next? Consumers paid some of that. Businesses are going to want some back. How do we handle this?
Well, we spent a lot of time talking over the last couple of months that we thought if this did get reversed, would the court say you don't have to give any of the money back? We're just not going to charge it going forward. That still is a possibility. The government says they have the money to.
No, that's what I'm saying. We understand that some things are just cheaper. Yeah, we get that. But again, in order for the money to circulate in the United States of America, wouldn't you want to buy American versus buying imports? Nobody's saying that you're 100% cleared from buying things from overseas. We're not saying that at all. But if you had the option to choose, like, well, listen, if I can get 90% of my products and the things that I buy from the United States of America, they would rather do that and live with the 10% of what they have to get from overseas. They would rather do that. None of it is absolute. Just because you're putting tariffs, that don't necessarily mean that's going to stop everybody from purchasing overseas. Businesses and consumer based don't matter. According to AKA Token Black Guy, here's our MAGA guide to bullshit. Exactly, Octa. That's what I'm saying. We know it's not reality. That's my point. That's my point. But at the end of the day, even if you decide to purchase something that's overseas, guess what? It gets taxed. But guess what? That money still circulates here, which then creates more dollars for us. So yeah, we understand that that's not the reality of the situation. Yeah, we're still going to purchase things from overseas. Listen, Saka, listen. You can't give fuel to people like that. You can't give fuel to people like that because they show their true colors. Which, hey, listen, I respect it because he, she, whatever the fuck he is, decided to put their face on the profile. So listen, we're gonna let them rock out. I mean, I don't trip. I don't take none of that personally. It just shows me more of who they are versus who I am. You see what I'm saying? So they just showing who they are. It's just a keyboard warrior. That's it. They just a keyboard warrior. So enlighten me on how it works then, Octa. Enlighten me on how it works then, bro.
Give it back. I think the problem is going to be who does it go back to? And that's the problem. You have all these small businesses, medium, large businesses like Costco and the one on Main Street asking for the money back. It's going to disappoint a lot of people. It's not going to go back to
Thanks, Jason.
I don't know that I agree with you on it's going to take a year to put some other action in place. I would have to assume that those folks in the
that's a fact, Mark. That's a fact, Mark.
That there was risk.
They're
going to look at 301 the same way they're looking at China. And it's important for the American folks to know that China does not get off the hook here. 301 is still very much intact. 232, which is impacting Canada the most, is still very much intact. So what countries really win here? Well, the UK came out this morning and said they're very happy that the court now understands how to do all these things. The money's going to flow. I just don't know when, if ever.
I'll add to 301 and 232, Brian, that he used in his first term. There's also the Tariff Act of 1930, Section 338 and Section 122. Under 338, if there's discriminatory actions.
Is that the only joke you got? Is everything from Temu? You must love shopping from Temu, huh? That's what you got. You buy everything from Temu. You probably got that V-neck from Temu too, huh? You like Temu, huh? I'm Purdy. You shop at Temu a lot, huh? I get it, bro. Do your thing. If you shop at Temu, do your thing, bro.
countries upon us. You can impose a 50% tariff if under 122. If there are large or serious deficits, you can impose a 15% rate for a certain period of time. So those are two more options that are on the table. Marcus is probably right. They probably have truncated a long timeline here by getting a jump on this as the decision was being mulled over by the court. Your thoughts on the president moving forward? I wonder if he exercises these options, or I go back to my first thought, which is he essentially got what he wanted. You always use the thing in the car with the kids. I'll turn this car around. He turned it around, and they know that he will.
Yeah, they're already heading home. We're not going to Disney World, everybody. That plan has changed. The tax foundation, you mentioned all these codes you can use. Okay, there's so many of them. Tax foundation, not a fan of the tariffs, but they did say he could use Section 122 to basically recoup between 50 and 75% of the revenue that he's already planning to get on these tariffs. So here's what I love. The left is like, yes, this is a win. We have defeated Donald Trump. And like, he's going to reform, 80% of what he's done already if he wants to. It might be a little harder for him. It is not going to stop him. But here's the part nobody talks about. And I think this is like,
hey, y'all, I think I got it. I think Purdy want to be black. I get it. Purdy want to be black because he cannot stop talking about how black I am. Yes, nigga, we know I'm black. And I love every bit of this melanated skin, my G. You just mad because you can't be black and you want to be black so bad. So you got to project that onto me. I got it. I get you, bro. I get you now. I understand you. Hey, it's cool, man. You know what I'm saying? I get it. I get it. Because you age like sour milk. It's cool. You got to go to the tanning bed to get darker. I don't. You got to put spray tan on your skin in order for you to look darker because you want to look like me, homeboy. I get it. I understand it now. We got it. Hey, y'all, we understand it. Hey, chat, we got it. We figured it out. Purdy want to be black. Purdy mad because I can take his chick whenever I want to because she want to be with black guys. I got it. Because she don't like having to bend her man over and pin him up the wall and blow his back out. That's what she does. That's what she don't like. She want a black guy. You know what I'm saying? She want a real man. She don't want some softy. That's what she don't want. She don't want no softy. And that's exactly what he is. Cause look at him. He typing in caps. Look at him. Check him out. Look at him. He typing in caps. Y'all, we got him twisted. He hurt. He upset. We got him.
the long-term thing that really matters. Okay. So who decided against the president here? It was the Chief Justice.
Exactly, Jason. Exactly. He's upset. He's upset because he's a rainbow lover. That's what he's upset about. He got Trump derangement syndrome. And he want to be black. He's a white apologist. That's exactly what he is. He's a white apologist. But his true colors are showing. His true colors are showing right now, which he don't realize it. True colors are showing. But hey, I respect it though, because he don't give a fuck. Which is cool with me. I really don't care either. But we see who he wants to be though. We see.
And it was Gorsuch and it was Barrett. Okay. And then it was the three liberals, right? What did the liberals have to do to rule against Trump in this case? And they knew they had to do this and they hate it. They had to line up on the side of the major questions doctrine.
Yes.
Okay. Now, and how do you know they know that? Because in their concurrence, what they say is we think the ordinary tools of statutory interpretation support today's result. We do not join the part of that.
Wait, so hold on. So I want to go back to Octavius. So what are you saying? How does the 10% not help us? What do you mean? How does the 10% not help the United States of America? So what you're telling me is that because we decide to put tariffs on other countries in order to sell products in the United States of America, it's hurting us? Is that what you're telling me? Is that what you're telling me? That's what I'm trying to understand. Is that what you're telling me? Or because you decide to purchase products outside of the United States of America, you're saying that's hurting America too? That's what you're telling me? I'm trying to understand.
Invoking the so-called major questions doctrine. Sorry, but you did. That's the side you're on. Their Trump derangement syndrome caused them to rule against
exactly.
the very
That's what I'm trying to get at, Mark. So people can tariff us, and they get money to help their country out so that their country can thrive. But the United States of America can't do that. But we can't tariff other countries though. That's what I'm trying to understand. Y'all act as if we're the only ones putting tariffs on other countries. Other countries are putting tariffs on us too. But because we had Biden in office, we weren't tariffing anybody. People were making money off of us and we weren't making money off of them. What are we talking about? Why y'all think that a great example, Jason? Why you think China thrives so well? Facts, Angel.
3 years ago in West Virginia versus EPA, they wanted to support, okay? Now, you can say they don't care about consistency. They'll just go whichever way they want to. Fine. But now their names are on a decision that says the administrative state can't run amok. Did it work against what Trump wanted here? Yes, it did. But if you love liberty and constitutional government, these guys do not, in my view, they just supported constitutional government and liberty. And I think Trump got a big win there, and nobody's giving him credit for it. I don't even think he's giving himself credit for it right now.
I'm going to do the totally non-legal thought process here, not bring up any code 301s or 275s and things like that. It seems like the Supreme Court said you can't do these tariffs. Oh, but by the way, you can do tariffs.
Right.
Last I looked, the president of the United States right now is Donald Trump. He's not taking a step backward.
What facts did I ignore? What facts did I ignore? You keep talking about a Doge check. What the fuck bro? Are you asking for a 5K Doge check? Is that what is that what you're expecting? You okay, bro? You all right over? You struggling over there? You struggling over that V-neck? You good? Cause you really want me to talk about the 5K Doge, huh? Are you good? Were you the one that was waiting on that check? You was hoping and praying for it? You probably was one of the same ones who got a stimmy check too, huh? You was hoping for another stimmy. That's what you was hoping for, huh?
He's not taking a step sidewards. He's just going to move forward and do whatever he wants to do. Probably less so, but I don't think much is going to change going forward. I don't think we're going to get any, and thankfully, 150% tariffs. I actually think it's a good thing because we still do have to go back.
Bro, what are you... seriously, bro? What are you talking about, bro? Hey, what are you talking about, fam?
Back to who Congress and taxes, not out of the White House. Good to see that. But the fun...
No, what happened is they overturned it because he was overstepping. That doesn't mean that he can't put tariffs on other countries. That's the part, see, you missed the context of it. They overturned it because they said that he was overstepping. He was putting too much of a percent of a tariff on other countries. He's still going to implement a 10% tax. So what are you talking about?
Part's going to be the refunds.
Get your shit together, man.
Money from the federal...
Get your shit together, Purdy. I get it, bro. You in your emotions, your panties in the water, bro. Relax, homie. Go take a drink. Go sip some Henny or some shit. That's what you ratchets do. Go sip some Henny or something. Go drink whatever it is that you drink. Go drink a pink drink or something. Whatever the fuck you drink. Go drink that and calm down. Relax.
Federal government paid back to you.
Right.
See in the year 2037.
Apparently
that's
you
what I
don't.
think's going to go on there. There already, I believe there's one coalition of 800 small businesses already out with an 8-pager. Give us our money back. They didn't use any 4-letter words, but they just said, give us our money back. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. So I do believe we're going to have a free-for-all going forward. And I think we're going to be back to business. And we keep hearing about Plan B. I think we're probably going to stay with Plan A. Just to lesser so, because the Supreme Court, regardless if the president said this was a disgrace, they still do matter.
On the refunds, my assessment is that this will get tied up in court. So those small businesses are going to try to fight the Trump administration. Nobody tomorrow is taking out a checkbook in the federal government to voluntarily try to parse through what will be a very difficult process.
Go ahead and
Once you
ask
get through
him a
the court
question,
system,
Mark.
it will get tied up.
Go ahead and ask him a question, Mark. Go ahead and ask him that question.
Up there for some time to come. So I'm not really thinking that they're too worried about that right now. In some ways, it was good that the court, for the Trump administration, that the court didn't get into the specifics of that, because it gives them an opportunity to kind of buy some time and figure out what they're going to do. But when I'm thinking about this, most of the trade agreements that we have seen, countries sort of came and they kissed Donald Trump's ring and they reversed things that were annoying him that didn't necessarily have to do with tariffs per se. So as I said, he's already won, but the big outlier in the room is China. Any thoughts on how China's looking at this decision today and saying, we're your toughest opponent. We might actually be what all this tariff nonsense was about. You were coming after us, and we haven't necessarily come to terms with you. Does this strengthen, David, China's situation or their position to fight back against the president?
You know, the Chinese have as many spies in America as we have in the whole world. And that's where they're using their human capital primarily right now. And I think everything that everybody has said here, as brilliant as it all has been, is something that they are already keyed into. They know how long it's going to take. They know that there are other options that President Trump has besides IEPA. They expected him to lose with the Supreme Court. So I think they have it all planned out right now. Their major concerns are, as always, stealing as much intellectual property as they can to keep pace up with the most innovative.
But see, this is the thing too, what a lot of people are understanding. Even just with the 10% by itself, it can help the manufacturing industry. It can help the steel industry. It can create more jobs. It can help stabilize a lot of companies that are over here right now, right? 10%, the 10% also, it helps shorten the deficit that we got in America. So while we're sitting up here having this conversation, oh, don't put the tariffs, because it's hurting the American people. No, it's actually helping the American people. Why do you think so many companies are creating a whole bunch of manufacturing jobs out here in America right now? There are so many warehouses that are being created out here in Arizona. And I think in the past 2 years, and it's still growing. They are building a hell of a lot of warehouses out here in America. And this is just Arizona in itself. I'm just talking about Arizona. So this helps create more jobs. It helps make America stronger. It shortens the deficit. But y'all worrying about, oh, well, it's for the consumers because, yeah, if you decide to make purchases overseas, yes, you're going to get taxed. Duh. That makes sense. You're going to get taxed. Of course you are. No jobs are not being... What jobs are being lost? Hey, shout out to you, Cutting Edge 8293 for the $5. He said the thing is Trump used the IEEPA's laws, but now he's using the other ones to impose tariffs. One of them are the 232, 19 USC 1862. Simple. Yep. Those tariffs are still gonna happen. So many jobs were lost and so many jobs were created. So what are you talking about? That's what I'm saying. You're saying one aspect. This still creates more jobs. There's still more jobs being created. Yes, there are some jobs that are going to get lost in the process. Some people it's going to happen. But there's still more jobs being created. Is there not? Just answer this question. Are there more jobs being created? Yes or no? With these tariffs, will more jobs be created? Yes or no? That's just a yes or no question.
Country in the earth, and that is the United States. So I don't think it's going to change much there.
Exactly.
I should say though that the question of the emergency, it's an emergency, international emergency is the essentially what IEEPA means. And the Supreme Court didn't specifically say what the emergency was.
So you're sitting here telling me that it's not creating more. If a product from overseas costs $100, a 10% tariff makes it $110 before retail markup. That narrows the price gap between foreign and American-made goods. Okay, so this is why you should encourage buying American, right? So what happens is, if U.S.-made goods are now competitively priced, consumers may shift to domestic businesses that could increase revenue for the U.S. manufacturers, potentially protect or create jobs, strengthen certain industries, which I mentioned, manufacturing and steel, generate government revenue, right? Let me see, what does that look? Okay. Increase leverage in trade negotiations, right? Tariffs can be used as pressure. The message is, if you want access to our market, play fair. Simple. Now, in regards to what you're saying, I'm looking at it right now, big dog. I'm looking at it right now. That's exactly what I'm reading to you. That's exactly what I'm reading to you. And you heard exactly what I just said. So yeah, thank you. Thank you. Chat GPT. I'm reading it to you right now. Importers usually pass the tariff down the chain. Supplier, retailer, consumer. Yes, correct. So everyday Americans may pay higher prices. Yes, if you decide to purchase overseas. I said that. Did I not? I did say that. Thank you very much. Small businesses can get squeezed. Yes. Small businesses can get squeezed. If a U.S. business relies on imported parts or materials, their costs go up. Not every American company is fully American sourced. I said that. If Canada or another country adds tariffs back on U.S. goods, American farmers, auto manufacturers, energy producers can lose export demand. Broad tariffs can push prices up across categories depending on how widespread they are, which means inflation pressure. But inflation has gone down. So what are we talking about? So now that you dared me to read off of Chat GPT, which I did and I showed you, now you got to put a super chat up there just because of it. Thank you. Let me read this super chat as well. Cutting Edge 8293, man, shout out to you for the 20 ball, dog. Appreciate you for that 20 ball.
Listen, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out
Oh, wow, I clicked the wrong goddamn button. Don't worry about it though.
That's top dog aura right there.
So Cutting Edge says, brother, the jobs lost are from the public. Government, they take our taxes to pay them. And other ones are from illegals. The real ones, real ones are private jobs. I come legally here, and I know this because in my country it happens. Hey man, shout out to you, bro, for showing love, dog. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. I appreciate you for showing love. Yeah, they act like, what are we talking? Courtney, you making too much sense for their leftist brain. That's what I'm saying. I'm reading it. He wanted me to read Chat GPT. I made sure I did that for him. And boom. Said everything that I just explained. But I'm the crazy one though.
Whether or not they disagreed with that actually being an emergency, but that's basically what they were saying. He just wanted to use the tariffs to get things done, to change policies without there being a real emergency. Again, there may be a specific point. I haven't seen it so far. If anybody here has, I'd be interested in knowing, but I haven't seen them specifically say that there was an emergency of any kind that President Trump was pointing.
I just want to bring you this.
Let me say this though, and I'll keep it playing. I'll let it play the rest of the way through. But let me say this to the chat. Hey, whether you agree with me or not, you can say whatever you want. I really don't care. I don't take it personally. But I appreciate y'all for engaging in the chat, for talking. You know, I appreciate you, even though, you know, Purdy be on the left side. I ain't tripping. You know what I'm saying? Do what you do. Feel how you want to feel. Don't care, right? But I appreciate y'all for engaging in the chat. So shout out to y'all, man.
From our senior White House correspondent, Jackie Heinrich. She said, according to a source outside the administration on the president's reaction to the tariff ruling during a governor's breakfast, quote, an aide came in, handed him a note. He called it a disgrace, and then he went on with the remarks. Now, he is going to address it, and people are going to want to hear what he has to say. But yesterday, he was in Rome, Georgia, and he was drilling his message home on the economy because the midterms are just months away, and he's really trying to campaign for the GOP on this and get the message out that they have done, despite all of the tariffs, they have done so much for the economy. Can we listen to what the president said yesterday?
Airfares, hotels, car payments, rent, sports events, groceries, everything's down. Everything's down. Dairy, eggs, potatoes, and chicken. Core inflation is now the lowest of any time in more than 7 years. The last 3 months, we've had the lowest inflation we have had in over a decade. The last 3 months, it's 1.4%. We had record inflation. You don't have it anymore. We brought back the American dream, and we have a country, I think, that within the next 12 months, maybe sooner, but within the next 12 months, it's going to be the greatest it's ever been.
So I don't think, Marcus, he's going to give this decision too much oxygen, but I think he's going to focus on that message.
He should. Here's what I have not heard today. What's the Fed going to do now? Because they've been saying we can't lower rates because we think inflation is still an issue. We think inflation is an issue because of tariffs. And if tariffs at the level that they were are no longer on the table, what is their argument now? Next week, the week after, to not lower rates. The exaggeration that I felt happened a little bit in Georgia by saying everything was cheaper may actually come to fruition if the Fed actually makes this move. And I think we need to focus a little bit more on that. And
man, at the end of the day, bro, tariffs are good. It's going to help the American country. We put those 10% tariffs on everybody. It's going to help strengthen our country. I don't care what all these liberals are talking about. If you decide to go and make purchases overseas, guess what? Yep, you're going to get taxed. Part of business. It's gonna happen. It is what it is. We gotta keep the money. We're gonna charge you extra. So just like it was saying, if it's $100, we're gonna pay you that. We're gonna charge you that 10%, which is gonna be $110. Be what it is. You're gonna have to learn to adjust. Y'all do it anyway. Y'all adjust anyway. So you'll be all right. That's exactly, Jason. And it ain't permanent. So they can relax. Calm the fuck down, man. Jesus Christ. But listen, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe for the algorithm, and make sure you hit the bell notification. Listen, I'm right. Listen, y'all, the chat, y'all going crazy today. I rock with y'all, man. Even Purdy, I rock with you. Even though you a racist joker, I rock with you, bro, because you out here going crazy in the chats. Even though you still ain't showing love to the super chats, though, that's some hoe shit, though. That's some hoe shit. I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Yep, I'm calling you out. I'm calling you out. I'm calling you out. You don't want to show love? Call it what you want. You ain't showing it. If you say you love the token black man, how about you put a token in the super chat? How about you do that? All right? Then we can have a conversation. But I want to get over to, damn, should I talk about this? Matt, you in here? Macaroni, you still here? I don't know if I want to talk about this or not. Just like toys from China, the plastic has lead in them. If we make them here, if we make twice in America, we would have the safer toys with no lead in them. Yep, facts. Enjoy your lives. We'll see you later, bro. Hoping you find that white woman. I don't need a white woman. That's the problem. I got your mom over here. Your mom over here. That's why I don't need one. I already got one. It's your mom. But Macaroni, you here? I don't know if I want to talk about this next topic. I gotta ask the chat. Gotta ask the chat. I don't think he here. I don't think he here right now. But I'll come back to it. I want to talk about this. I got a question to ask the chat. Because now we're shifting gears. We're shifting gears a little bit. Do you believe men and women can be platonic friends without one or the other catching feelings? Generally speaking, we're not talking about the exceptions to the rule. In general, can men and women actually be platonic friends? Actually. What do y'all think? Because apparently they're trying to cancel Cam Newton because Cam Newton said that you can't be platonic friends. He don't want to be platonic friends. So we're going to hear what he got to say about it, and then I'll give my thoughts and opinions on it. All right? So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you hit the bell notification.